What's good, everybody? This is your guy Manny, and this is the Talking Sports with Manny YouTube channel. We're going to talk NFL today. Plenty happened. Week 14 of the NFL. Come out of this jacket; it's a little hot. But yeah, man, we're going to talk Titans. We're going to talk Ravens. We're going to talk even the Washington Commanders, how they were able to move up in the standings and didn't even really play. I'm gonna run my intro. I'm going to get this thing on and popping. So, guys, before I pull up the full landscape of the NFL, let's go ahead and let's talk about the game tonight. You got Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals versus Mac Jones and the Patriots. Both teams need a win. Both teams need a win. And I think the Patriots literally need this win. If the Patriots lose tonight, they're out. I don't even know which game to start with tonight, man. Let's go ahead and start with the Rams and the Raiders. Shout out to Baker Mayfield. Becoming the guy who he was meant to be. And this guy shows up. I was on the plane headed back to Nashville, and I happened to be watching this game on the flight. And to see Baker Mayfield go 98 yards and score a touchdown, that was amazing. Whether you like him, whether you hate him, you got to give him props. That's something that's really hard to do. Literally just got there, just learned the offense, and was able to lead that team to a victory. Shout out to Van Jefferson, a guy that, I am a big fan of, but he just hasn't really hit his stride yet. Without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to share my screen. And once I share my screen, I'll be able to show you guys what I see. And then we'll go ahead and run through these games. I got a lot to say about a lot of different teams. So we talked about the first game. Then you got the Jets and the Bills. This is an interesting game because coming into the game, you had the Jets who were in striking distance of competing with Buffalo to go ahead and, try to win this division. Now, it sounds funny, but at the end of the day, the Jets were a solid team. Had the Jets won, they would have been 8-5, and then the Bills would have been 10-4. That striking distance within one game. Not sure how that first matchup went, but what's his name? Mike White, a guy that I like for that offense. He plays really, really well within that offense. I thought he'll have enough to get it done. We got Timeout Sports in the building. Timeout Sports says, "What's up, bro? Got to handle our business on Sunday." Absolutely. The Commanders need a huge, huge win come Sunday, and I hope that we're able to get it. None your business, man. What's good? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Says Tony from Commanders Hub Live. Do your thing. Appreciate you, Tony. Appreciate the support always. So looking at the full landscape of things, the Bills and the Jets game, that was a great game. It was a great game. Mike White, I like him a lot. He's a gunslinger, and he was tough. He was knocked out of the game 2 times, but he just stayed within the game. Zonovan Knight has stepped up big time, 17 carries for 71 yards on the score. And Garrett Wilson coming into the draft, I felt he was the best wide receiver in the draft. I had him in my fantasy rookie drafts as the wide receiver 1. And Garrett Wilson is putting up numbers. Garrett Wilson, Olave, put up numbers. I would have loved either one of those guys on my Commanders, but I am definitely fine with having Jahan Dotson. But yeah, the Jets just couldn't get it done. They tried to push at the end, making it an 8-point game with a field goal. But the Bills' defense is just as tough as the Jets' defense. I think the Jets have one of the better defenses in the entire league. So the Jets are just a quarterback away. We'll see how they address this position in the offseason. Mike White is a guy that I feel like could be the future or the bridge guy until they find their guy. Obviously, Zach Wilson wasn't their guy. And it's not that Zach Wilson's career is over. It's just that Zach Wilson is not ready to lead an NFL team. A lot of times you have these NFL teams who go ahead and draft these young quarterbacks, and then you feel like, okay, this guy is the guy. I was having a debate today about Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence in year 2 has been amazing. He's been amazing, and he's going to top over 4,000 passing yards. He's going to reach maybe 25, 26 passing touchdowns. But the most impressive thing about Trevor Lawrence right now is that he's under 6 or 7 interceptions for the season. So I love to see growth out of these young quarterbacks. Zach Wilson, we haven't seen it. Trey Lance, even when he was healthy, we didn't really see much out of Trey Lance. And we really don't even know who Trey Lance is currently. So all that being said, it's going to be interesting to see what some of these young quarterbacks do. Mac Jones plays tonight. Can Mac Jones be that franchise quarterback for the Patriots? Or even can he be a solid starting quarterback? We don't know this. So there's a lot of people that are saying that my Commanders should go ahead and trade up and go get a quarterback. Just because you draft a quarterback within the first 32 picks does not mean that that quarterback is going to succeed. Obviously, there is a high hit rate with drafting first-round quarterbacks. What I'm saying is, a young quarterback is a young quarterback, but obviously you want to get those guys that have the first-round grade and, increase your chances of success. But some of these quarterbacks that are coming in, they're not franchise quarterbacks. They might just be NFL starters. They might just be NFL backups. It's just all about where you're drafting these guys. So is Mac Jones, is he a starter or is he a career backup? Time will tell. We're going to find out a lot, especially come tonight. So you had the Browns who played the Bengals, right? And I had no faith in the Browns. And Deshaun Watson looks terrible. He did have 276 yards passing and a touchdown, but he had a couple picks, I believe. And, Deshaun Watson, it's going to take him a while to be Deshaun Watson once again. Deshaun Watson is being paid as a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now. He is not a top 5 quarterback in the NFL right now, and he might not be next year. We know what Deshaun Watson brings to the table, but Deshaun Watson is just not that guy as of right now. So I don't know what happens with him moving forward, but it's definitely going to be interesting. So looking at this game, you had Ja'Marr Chase, being healthy. T. Higgins got hurt. So with T. Higgins getting hurt, that just meant more love for Ja'Marr Chase. Anybody who has Ja'Marr Chase in fantasy was literally happy. 10 receptions off of 15 targets, 119 yards and a score, right? So now it's like, where is the help going to come from? Trenton Irwin pitched in, Trent Taylor, what's going to happen with this team without T. Higgins? Tyler Boyd did get hurt. But Joe Burrow was able to lead this team. They have a 9-4 record right now. They are as solid as they come. What is going on with Nick Chubb? 14 carries for 34 yards. For some reason, there hasn't been a connection with Deshaun Watson and his receiver, meaning Amari Cooper, but also with Nick Chubb, and it's just something's off. They might want to use Kareem Hunt more in the passing game. Does this team turn away from being a running team to a passing team? All these things are interesting. In my dynasty leagues, I was telling people to go ahead and acquire Donovan Peoples-Jones. Donovan Peoples-Jones played well, 12 targets, 8 receptions for 114 yards. It just seems like he has a better connection with Deshaun Watson, and you're going to see that happen more and more and more as the season goes on. I could be totally wrong. We're seeing Njoku playing well, but for some reason, the connection has not been there between Amari Cooper and Deshaun Watson. You can say, okay, Amari Cooper's hurt. Didn't plan on spending all this time on the Cleveland Browns, but just wanted to point out some things that I noticed on Sunday. Moving on to the next game, you have the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to spend some time on the Dallas Cowboys for a short little minute. The Dallas Cowboys, what were you guys doing? Literally, you guys tried everything in your power to lose this game to the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans came out with a game plan. They had a lead, and they blew the game in the fourth quarter. That's where the game was won for Dallas. Dallas was terrible. You had Dak Prescott, 284 yards passing, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. And this is to the worst team in the NFL. You're playing a team that's going to be drafted number 1 overall, and this is the performance that you provide for your fans. I mean, I enjoyed it being a Commanders fan, but this is what you provide for your fans at home. At home. Every Dallas Cowboy fan that bought a ticket should request their money back. Mike Brown, what's good? Appreciate you hopping on the stream. Mike said Deshaun Watson's Garbo. Maybe. I mean, I'm just not getting those vibes of Deshaun Watson from 2 years ago. I mean, and then he literally hasn't played for 2 years. Mike Brown says Dallas Cowgirls. Absolutely. They stunk it up yesterday. I mean, you have a running game with Ezekiel Elliott and Tony Pollard who combined for over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and you don't utilize these guys to their full potential. Like, why are you passing the ball 39 times? You're supposed to pound the rock, use these guys for what they do best, which is running the ball. And this is why I do not believe in the Dallas Cowboys. I was telling everybody that Week 18 matchup between the Cowboys and the Commanders, they don't scare me. This is a matchup that they just don't scare me. Mike Brown says, how much longer do you think Dak got? I think Dak is going to play out his contract with the Dallas Cowboys. The problem is Will the Dallas Cowboys allow him to? You know, I think Dak Prescott, I guess he's a starting level quarterback. He's not an elite quarterback. There's not too many elite quarterbacks as it is, but Dak is a top 10, the top 15 quarterback in the NFL. I really think that he is. But for some reason, there's a curse that's put on the Dallas Cowboys to where they can't get over that hump. Tony Romo was a good quarterback. Whether you liked him, whether you hated him, he was a good quarterback. They just couldn't get over that hump. And that's the thing with Dallas Cowboys. Even if they get a first-round bye somehow, magically, right? They could be a team that's eliminated in the first round. Dave Robb says, don't forget to like. Hey, appreciate you, man. Don't forget to like. Appreciate you, Dave Robb, man. Matter of fact, I'm going to make sure that you are a administrator a little later. Most definitely. Let me see. Yeah, I'll make you a moderator later. Mike Brown says, would y'all take him? Yes, I'll take Dak Prescott as the quarterback right now. I will take Dak Prescott as the quarterback. Mike Brown says, Jessica Simpson ruined Tony Romo. Possibly. Just like Sierra ruined Russell Wilson, right? We're going to go there too soon? I'm going to let that one go. But back to this game. Texans did everything they could to win the game, play solid defense. Dameon Pierce was solid, 22 carries, 78 yards in the score. Chris Moore, if you play Chris Moore in fantasy, you're winning right now. I started him as a desperation play because they had all of their top guys out. No Brandon Cooks, no Nico Collins. So I said, okay, let me try Chris Moore. I preferred Chris Moore over Philip Dorsett, and it worked out. 10 receptions for 124 yards. He got me a big, I think it was like 22 points in fantasy. It was great. Dalton Schultz played well. But CeeDee Lamb, where were you? Like, were you being covered by the rookie? I don't even know if the rookie played. I don't even see him in the box score. I didn't watch this game. I didn't spend time on this game. But for some reason, CeeDee Lamb doesn't play like a number one receiver every single game. But, you know, he gets all his love in dynasty leagues and CeeDee Lamb this, CeeDee Lamb that. But when you need him, he doesn't really show up. Noah Brown had 85 yards, but it was a chunk play, a 51-yard pass. So the Dallas performance offensively and defensively was terrible. If you look in the box score, was it because they had Jeff Driscoll playing some plays and then Davis Mills playing some plays? There was 0 sacks by the Dallas Cowboys. That is unacceptable for a team that's supposed to literally be one of the better teams in the NFL. How can you have Michael Parsons and this guy, and you have all of this, and you're playing a team in the Texans with a poor offensive line and you don't get any sacks? That's terrible. So, yeah, Dallas Cowboys, y'all have to get it together now. I mean, y'all's fans every year, it's Dak Attack, and it's we them boys, and it's this and it's that. Dallas Cowboys, y'all was not them boys come Sunday. Y'all was terrible. And y'all, look, you guys ended up winning this game, but it was a miracle. It was a miracle win for you guys, and it'll be interesting to see, does Dallas bounce back the next week, or is this the Dallas Cowboys that we're going to see come December, January, moving on as the season progresses? Now, one of the better interesting games this week was the Minnesota Vikings and the Detroit Lions. This is why I enjoyed this game. Being an NFL fan, you want to see points, right? You want to see score, like you want to see teams score the ball, right? Look, the Detroit Lions have one of the better offenses in the league. The Detroit Lions offensively are legit. Not only that, with the Lions beating Minnesota, these guys are now in the playoff hunt. Believe it or not, the Detroit Lions are in the playoff hunt. If the season ended today, and they need to win, and they need some help to get into the playoffs. But Jared Goff, he's a guy that we're not talking about. The Lions have won maybe, was it 4 games out of their last 5 or something like that? The Lions have been literally winning games. And within that stretch of games, Jared Goff has been solid. 330 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, okay? He's playing lights out. And the thing I said about Jared Goff when the Lions first got him, I said, look at this. I said, Jared Goff is going to be a quarterback that's solid, number one. Number two, with all the weapons that Jared Goff has, he's going to find a way to be successful. People always want to roast Jared Goff because he's not this guy, he's not that guy. Jared Goff and Jimmy Garoppolo are the same guys. They're the same guys. But Jimmy Garoppolo gets more love. Why? Because he's led the 49ers to 2 NFC championships and 1 Super Bowl that he didn't win. Jared Goff led his team to a Super Bowl that he didn't win. When you mirror these guys, they're the same guys. People say, well, Jimmy's this, Jimmy. They're the same. They're the same. They're the same. There are 2 guys that are talented, but they're not elite. So you need weapons around them. You need a defense around them to make them even look better than what they are. And that's what the Rams were able to do for Goff, and that's what the 49ers were able to also do for Jimmy G. Now, digging more into this game, what is going on with DeAndre Swift? In my dynasty leagues, I am getting sick and tired of DeAndre Swift. Is he really a franchise running back? Like, he's fully healthy now. So we can't buy the excuses, oh, he's not banged up. Maybe DeAndre Swift is just not as good as we all thought he was. Maybe. I don't know. Jamal Williams, that started out the season great, scoring touchdowns. Something is seriously wrong with the Lions' running attack. Maybe they have some injuries within that offensive line. I don't know. But shout out to DJ Chark coming off of an injury. He's been 2 solid games in a row, 6 receptions, 94 yards, and a score. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 6 receptions, 68 yards. He's really, really solid. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is, I don't want to say Cooper Kupp, but he's Cooper Kupp-like. He plays like a Cooper Kupp. Not necessarily fast, but he knows how to get open. He creates those little holes, and he has great hands. So Amon-Ra St. Brown is great. Mike Brown says we might be having a problem. It says we might be having problems at home. Man. Hold on, Mike Brown. Who's your team again? Are you a Vikings fan? Are you a Lions fan? I forgot your team. Let me know your team. So Justin Jefferson. Let's talk about Justin Jefferson for just a little minute. He had 15 targets. He caught 11 of those for 223 yards receiving. This guy right here, he's going crazy. He's going insane right now. Let's look at his numbers, man. This guy has 99 receptions right now for an exact 1,500 yards. With 4 games left, do you guys think that Justin Jefferson can crack 2,000 yards receiving? I actually said on one of my shows that I actually think that Justin Jefferson cracks 2,000 yards this year. And when I said it, I said that about Tyreek Hill first. Then I said, well, if there's any other guy that can possibly do that this season, it's also Justin Jefferson. Now, to get 500 yards in 4 games, he can definitely do it. But will he do it? I don't know. Because as teams start to figure out what he's trying to do, nobody wants that record to be put on them. It's going to be hard. 4 games, 500 yards. I'm not saying that it can't be done, but I think that he can do it. Mike Brown says no. Then he says Megatron was the best receiver ever. That's debatable. You say Megatron, I say Randy Moss. That's definitely a debate for a whole nother day. But back to Justin Jefferson, man. This guy right here, man, he's amazing. He's amazing. I think his touchdown numbers should go up, but Kirk Cousins has not really had a great touchdown passing season. He's had a solid season. Just like yesterday, he had 225 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He was sacked 3 times. I'm not sure if he fumbled or not, but Kirk Cousins, man, when you put the ball in his hands and tell him to, produce, he's produced this season. And the guy that's not holding up his own end of the bargain is Dalvin Cook. 15 carries, 23 yards, and a score. The score is nice, but you're Dalvin Cook. You got to be able to score. 15 carries for 23 yards, that's terrible. So in one of my dynasty leagues, I was able to get rid of Dalvin Cook. I think the end is near for Dalvin Cook. Mike Brown says Moss allowed to push off. Okay. All right, I give you that. But even when Moss wasn't pushing off, Moss just ran down and just ran past people and just Moss people. You throw it up, he just goes and gets it. But like I said, it's a debate for another day. TJ Hockenson played well. It's surprising that Minnesota lost this game. But then again, Detroit Lions have played tough all year. So I'm not surprised that the Lions won. I'm just surprised at how the Lions won. For the fact that we know that Minnesota's defense is trash, right? Their offense is decent, but then they still couldn't get anything going in that run game. And that was a difference. Kirk Cousins throwing for 425 yards is solid. Hockenson playing well, Thielen playing well, Osborne playing well. 4 of his top weapons, they all played well. But then, like I said, the running backs, 17 carries between Cook and Madison for 22 yards. That's not going to cut it in the score. So Minnesota sitting at 10-3. Dallas just won, so they're 10-3. Minnesota's not a lock for that bye. So, I forgot. Now there's 7 teams. Only one team gets a bye. So, yeah, So they weren't getting the bye anyways. But it's always good to be in the best position possible. That way you can kind of figure out who you're going to play. So, yeah, now that it's 7 teams, only one team gets a bye. Yeah, I forgot all about that. It is extra, super, super interesting nowadays that it's 7 teams making the playoffs. So, yeah, so with Minnesota not possibly getting that bye, even fighting with the Eagles, losing this game was so big because they were pushing to catch the Eagles, even though that they already had 2 losses coming into this game. When you lose this game to a division foe to fall to 10-3, it's just not good. It's not what you want to do in December as you progress towards the playoffs. Another team that I have to spend some time on is the Tennessee Titans. The Tennessee Titans were terrible on Sunday. They were terrible on Sunday. It's like the Titans are a team, I live out here in Nashville, so I see how well the Titans play, and they're always in the playoffs. So you got to enjoy those moments where you're always in the playoffs, right? But when you look at the Titans, right, they're playing in the worst division in the entire NFL. And the Jags happen to be in that division. So what I'm looking at, like, you let Trevor Lawrence come into your house, a house like the Titans have always dominated Jacksonville. Whether it's in Tennessee, whether it's in Jacksonville, it doesn't matter. Tennessee has always won. Trevor Lawrence comes in, 42 pass attempts, completed 30 of those, 368 yards passing and 3 passing touchdowns. Trevor Lawrence was sacked 0 times. He was sacked 0 times, and this is a Titans team that prides themselves on that defensive line. When the defensive line is playing well, then you got the guys like Amani Hooker and Kevin Byard and all these other guys in that secondary playing just a little bit better. The Titans still need help in that secondary, especially the corners. They're very young and very inexperienced. Travis Etienne didn't have a good game. They shut down Travis Etienne. Congratulations, Titans. But what you failed to do was cover the tight end. I had an excuse from a Titans fan telling me the Titans were playing their 4th and 5th best linebacker. It doesn't matter. At the end of the day, you see Evan Ingram, 11 receptions for 162 yards and 2 scores. That is unacceptable on 15 targets. That means he was literally the offense. Zay Jones pitched in 8 receptions for 77 yards on the score. Christian Kirk was bottled up. He's been their best receiver. He's been solid all year. Shout out to Christian Kirk, man. He's well on his way to a whole nother good season, possibly the best season of his career. He's going to pass at least 1,000 yards this year, and he has a chance at getting 10 touchdowns. I mean, when Jacksonville paid Christian Kirk, I'm not going to lie, I laughed. I said, what are the Jags doing? Christian Kirk does not deserve that kind of money. But obviously, the play is definitely matching the kind of money that he's received. I wish that NFL GMs would pay people by performance. It'll be beautiful. Let's say, hey, you get X amount of dollars, but if you don't perform to your capabilities, guess what's going to happen? We're going to subtract some of that money that we gave you in your contract. And I guarantee you guys will see better football. But I get it. As a business, people get injured and this and that. I get all that. But all I'm saying is that if they were actually able to let these guys actually, play, perform, and then get paid, or you get X amount and then you get bonuses for, scoring a touchdown or doing this or making it deep into the playoff, you would see better play. A lot of times these guys get their money and just say, man, forget it. I've gotten paid. I've got my guarantees, and they're done. It happens all the time. So with the Titans, what pissed me off was I think Derrick Henry had 99 rushing yards in the first quarter. He only ended up with 121 yards rushing for the game total. So why is it Derrick Henry is dominating and you stop running the ball? Somebody told me, after Derrick Henry fumbled, when did he fumble? He fumbled. So what? It's Derrick Henry. You continue to feed him the rock. You needed to give Derrick Henry 34 to 35 carries. That's the formula. Shout out to my guy, Chig Okonkwo. He's going to be a good tight end in this league. He had 6 receptions, 45 yards on the score. Austin Hooper stepped up. So you've seen that Tannehill was using his limited weapons, but had they continued to feed Derrick Henry, just maybe this game is different. Titans didn't have a 14-7 lead in the first quarter. Then what happened? Second quarter, Jacksonville scores 13 points. Third quarter, Jacksonville scores 13 points. Then it just got out of hand. Titans try to make a little, push at the end. At that point, it just didn't matter. It just didn't matter. The Titans should be ashamed of themselves for this kind because of this kind of performance. This is a team that was the best team in football last year, record-wise. And then when it matters, this is what you get. Let me see what Mike says. It says, yeah, hit him in the pocketbook. It says you got to keep feeding him. Yeah, you have to feed Henry if you want a chance at anything. It says, yes, dude gone. Yeah, he's going to be the truth. Yeah. I love Chig from Maryland. He's real solid. I think here's my debate when I was talking to a Titans fan today, and he said that he will not be mad if Malik Willis starts the rest of the year. I mean, you're 7-6. Okay, you bring in Malik Willis right now, I promise you, Titans will win 0 of these next 4 games. Out of these next 4 games, they might beat Houston. They might. So if the Titans want to lose out right now, you bring in Malik Willis. Next year, if you go the Malik Willis route, the Titans might go 0-17. Malik Willis is a project, and he is not ready to be an NFL quarterback. I just do not see Malik Willis being an NFL quarterback right now. He's not. He's not. He's a project. I told him in year 3 is when you'll start seeing some kind of Malik Willis growth. From what I've seen in the small sample size, his throwing motion is off. This guy cannot connect. He can't make the easy throws. Okay, so yeah, that fan is crazy. You want to go Malik Willis? That means you want to lose. Malik Willis is something. I said, look, if you want to be all in on Caleb Williams in 2024, then yeah, you go Malik Willis. The Titans will go 0-17. You go Malik Willis, they'll go 0-17. Not just that. The funny part is, if Malik Willis is the quarterback starting next year, you're going to see Derrick Henry. He wants to get out of town. You're going to see guys like Kevin Byard and Jeffrey Simmons. You're going to see all of the top Titans guys. Like, look, we didn't sign up for this. This is a team that had the best record last year, and now you're struggling to make ends meet. You don't pay AJ Brown. They fire their GM for whatever the case may be. You have a guy in AJ Brown who's a beast, right? You do not retain him. You try to do what the Buffalo Bills and the Vikings did when the Vikings traded, Diggs to Buffalo, and then they got lucky. They got lucky to draft the Justin Jefferson. So now you're hoping that Treylon Burks can be AJ Brown. Treylon Burks is Treylon Burks. AJ Brown is AJ Brown. I love Treylon Burks. I think he's going to be a great wide receiver in this league. But you got to re-sign your talent. That's why I keep saying my team, the Commanders, we have to re-sign a guy like Daron Payne. We can't say, oh, we're going to let him go and we're going to draft another guy. It almost never works, ever. So Mike Brown says he has won 1 game, though, to his defense. Okay, congratulations to that 1 game. That 1 game was a 1 game that, nobody wanted to watch. You know what I'm saying? You've had quarterbacks win 1 game. But, hey, but at that time, they needed defense. I think they had Derrick Henry running the ball like 30 to something, 40 times, something crazy like that. It's just Titan ain't never wanted to pay nobody. And that's true. That's true. They've let every player that they've ever had go. Ever. Every player that the Titans have ever had is gone. They don't pay anybody. They did pay Derrick Henry. They did pay Tannehill, but these 2 guys, they can't take you to where you need to go. They can't. I mean, when you have a Tannehill, you're going to need to surround them with tons of weapons. But, yeah, the Titans, man, I don't know, man. They're going to be a first-round exit. Like, I don't see any hype. I don't see anything good for the Titans. And I'm sorry to these Titans fans that, follow and support me. I'm just telling the truth. Now, let's go to the Giants. The Giants started out the year great. I was talking to somebody. They said, oh, yeah, the Giants are good. They're having a good year. I'm like, yeah, they were having a good year. The last 4 games, they've been losing like crazy, And then they get blasted by the Eagles, 48-22. There's no excuses. Jalen Hurts came out, played a decent game, 217 yards passing, 2 scores. Miles Sanders was the key. Miles Sanders was a guy that I said, look, this guy can't play ball. I counted Miles Sanders out. He's having the best season of his career. 17 carries, 144 yards, 2 rushing scores. Right now, he's over 1,000 yards. I think this is the first time he's ever reached 1,000 yards. Let me see. Yep. First time ever reaching 1,000 yards. And then he has 11 touchdowns. Prior to that, he had no touchdowns last year. And prior to that, the first 2 seasons, 9 touchdowns. So he's having a heck of a year. And I think that the connection that he has with Jalen Hurts, where they can run that read option, that's really helping him out even more. A.J. Brown had a solid game, 4 receptions, 70 yards, and scored Devontae Smith. There was a lot of talk about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith having the best wide receiver duo in the NFC East, it might be true because the counterpart for Terry hasn't really stepped up like Devontae Smith has. Like you look at Devontae Smith, 775 yards. Like he's closer to 1,000 yards than Curtis Samuel, but both guys are equally doing well for their teams. But you look at AJ Brown, he's been solid himself, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. I mean, this is money well spent. Money well spent. They also picked up some corners and Bradbury and Slay. The Eagles are a well-oiled machine, but it does not make them a lot to get to Super Bowl. It's going to be a tough season. Playoffs is going to be tough. They do have one loss, and it was my Commanders that did beat the Eagles. So if the Commanders have shown the NFL the blueprint on how to beat the Eagles, which means you got to run the ball, right? Why is it that teams are not running the ball more on the Eagles? You got Saquon Barkley, right? 9 carries, 28 yards. It's terrible. Obviously, game script is everything. So when you jump out to a big lead, you can't really game script like you want to. But in that first quarter, there was no excuses. They just couldn't really get it done. They were getting stuff. Daniel Jones, I don't know what happens with him. I think this is his last year in New York. If not, he's going to be a guy that the Giants are going to draft a guy and make him compete with Daniel Jones. I mean, that's just what I see happening. Wide receiver-wise, they need to draft like 10 wide receivers. There should be no way your wide receiving core looks like this. Richie James, Darius Slayton, okay, Isaiah Hodgins. If you would have told me that these were the top 3 wide receivers come week 14, I'll be laughing. These guys are horrible. You know, Bellinger, I mean, who are these guys? So as much as people want to blame Daniel Jones, it's like literally what do they have as weapons? So Giants got blasted. And just like that, because the Giants lost and then because Seattle lost, that was how Washington went from, I think, the 8th seed to the 6th seed, which is, you know, we all know the top 7 make the playoffs. So this is an interesting game. The Giants and the Commanders play Sunday night football. Both teams have an identical record right now, but the Commanders have the edge because of what they've done in the NFC. Now, when these two teams match, whoever that wins this game has a better chance of making the playoffs. So we're going to see what happens after Sunday night. We go to Buffalo. We go to Baltimore. One thing I want to say about the Ravens is Mike Brown says, bragging. Yeah, man, I got to brag, look, anytime that I can say anything positive about my Commanders and brag, yeah, I'm going to brag. But between the Giants and the Commanders, that game is going to be awesome because it's going to be in the Commanders' house, right? And this is what's going to make that game special. Chase Young might actually play, okay? At home with Brian Robinson, I think the weather should be good. I think it's an advantage for Washington. I'm not saying that Washington wins because anything can happen, but if Taylor Heineke plays well, they win, right? If Taylor Heineke struggles, do not be surprised if Carson Wentz takes over. Mike Brown says 10-13 Giants. So Giants win. You got Giants winning by 3. I don't want to predict a score, but I think the Commanders score like close to 20-something points. What the Commanders have done is they've limited teams from scoring over 20 points. So one thing I want to say is that the Giants will struggle to score points. Can the Commanders score enough points? Hopefully they're able to feed Brian Robinson Jr. It just seems like a Brian Robinson Jr. type game. But let's go to this Ravens and Pittsburgh game. So no Lamar Jackson. You go to Tyler Huntley. He had a lot of hype, right? He played well last year in spurts for the Ravens, and he gets hurt. Then they go to Anthony Brown. You know, he didn't really play well. You know, you had J.K. Dobbins, who had a great game, 15 carries, 120 yards in the score. Gus Edwards also had a good game. So they had 215 yards on the ground. That's the identity for the Baltimore Ravens. We don't know if Huntley's going to play, but one thing that we do know is that Lamar Jackson might not play. But you look at this receiving core. Demarcus Robinson, Deshaun Jackson, Duvernay. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And yes, you had Rashad Bateman. He gets hurt. So you're telling me that the Ravens really couldn't find other wide receivers to complement a Rashad Bateman. So Robinson was a guy that you bring in, right? Deshaun Jackson, the guy that you bring in. So who was on the team when the season started? That's what I don't understand. what teams do. Like people are getting mad at Lamar Jackson. He's not doing this. He's not doing that. Look who was he throwing to? You had Hollywood Brown. You let him go for whatever reason. We all know that they didn't want to pay Hollywood. Then you draft Rashad Bateman the year before. He's been hurt. You gotta have more weapons. They had Likely, so they like to draft tight ends, right? They love playing 3 tight ends, but at some point, Lamar Jackson will have to start to throw the ball to some kind of wide receiver eventually. It says, who is Anthony Brown? Beats me, man. Let me just click on him because I really don't know much about Anthony Brown, but we do see that he's a brother. And if I had to guess, I would say that Anthony Brown is possibly athletic. Even when they had Trace, the Ravens love these quarterbacks that are athletic. Here's another guy that they just signed, Brent Hundley. And these are guys that can scramble. It's not about being black or white or nothing like that. But they just love the athletic type quarterbacks, right? Because the way that they run their offense is they want these quarterbacks that can also run the ball because they're limited receiver wise. They built this team as a running team. You need an athletic quarterback within this offense to make things work. Speaking of athletic quarterbacks, Mitch Trubisky's a guy that people said was athletic. He had 276 yards passing. He had 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. He did everything he could to give the Ravens this win, and the Ravens almost didn't win the game. It's crazy. Najee Harris, top pick, 12 carries, 33 yards. He's looked terrible. Kenny Pickett got knocked out very early in the game. If you started him in fantasy, I'm sorry. But the good thing about Trubisky playing is that Trubisky favors Deontay Johnson and Kenny Pickett favors George Pickens. So that's kind of how it's worked out. Don't know how true it is, but Pat Freiermuth was the one that scored the touchdown. So the Ravens win this game. The Ravens should have lost so many games this season, but for some reason, they just continue to find ways to win. This is a weird game right here between the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. It's weird because Patrick Mahomes is a guy that takes care of the ball, but he had 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, 352 yards passing. We understand that Mahomes makes people around him better, but this game gets even more weird. Pacheco had 13 carries for 70 yards, right? McKinnon stepped up more so in the fourth quarter as the game went along in the running game. But the beauty of this game is that Jerick McKinnon had 7 receptions for 112 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. This is something that they can exploit more. Patrick Mahomes has wanted a running back that can catch the ball. You now have that in Jerick McKinnon. Maybe they use him more. Use him out of that slot. You can move him all over the place. And he worked out well. I mean, there was a sick pass that I would show it to you guys, but YouTube would most likely cut the stream off. So I'm not showing videos. But they had a great balanced attack between Juju and McKinnon and Kelsey. But what concerns me is the 3 interceptions. And the 3 interceptions coming by the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos are not a good team. They're not a good team. And they were able to play the Chiefs so well. The Broncos were in this game the whole way. Russell Wilson was playing his best game of the season and possibly could have won this game had he not got hurt. 247 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, 1 interception. That's a Russell Wilson type game. He might give you those that 250 to 300 yard passing game, but that 3 to 4 or 5 touchdown game, that's Russell Wilson. He's having his best game of the season versus a defense in the Kansas City Chiefs that I feel are one of the better defenses in the league. Like, the Chiefs defense is so underrated. Mahomes is doing great things this year to give him this 10-3 record, but this defense has played well all year. They've held their own against some of the top offenses that they've played this year already. So Russell Wilson, he was also running the ball. He had 4 carries for 57 yards. Once he got hurt and Brett Rypien came in, it was pretty much over with. I mean, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. It is what it is. But Jerry Jeudy had the game of his life. If you've ever worried about Jerry Jeudy, he might be okay. He had 8 receptions, 73 yards, and 3 touchdowns. If you had Jerry Jeudy in fantasy, you're celebrating right now. Jerry Jeudy single-handedly won me so many games. I see that you are a Patrick Mahomes hater, Mike Brown, but the thing I want to say about Patrick Mahomes is he's a guy that I feel like with a system, without a system, I think that Patrick Mahomes will always be a guy that succeeds in the NFL. Patrick Mahomes is special. You see this year, his weapons declined, right? When you go from Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill to Juju Smith-Schuster, McKinnon, Travis Kelce. I mean, you went down, right? Even like your Pacheco. He was an undrafted 7th round guy or something like that. He comes in and he's having an impact. So this offense is just patchwork. You have Marquez Valdes-Scantling. You have Sky Moore, who hasn't really done nothing all year. Justin Watson. Patrick Mahomes has taken these guys and he's bringing out the best out of these guys. When you compare what Patrick Mahomes has done in any other season in this season, you see that it's still on par for his normal numbers. Already, he has 33 passing touchdowns. I've listed those wide receivers. Who is he passing to? Yes, Travis Kelce is catching a lot of those. When it's all said and done, after the season, Patrick Mahomes might have another 5,000-yard passing season. Even if he doesn't, it's going to be in the high, let's say 4,800, something like that, right? He's just that good. He has 33 passing touchdowns right now. There's a possibility that Patrick Mahomes hits 40 passing touchdowns this year, and that will make it his second best season touchdown-wise in his career. He's just that good. Now, this season and even last season, the high interception numbers have been crazy. He had 13 interceptions last year, and he has 11 this year. This year is understandable because your weapons are not as good as you've had in the past few years. But at the end of the day, he still will not be one of the top 5 in picks. Right now, he's tied for 30th in the league in interceptions. So it's just a testament that a guy can come out there and throw the ball 511 times and be this accurate to only have 11 interceptions. Some of these interceptions come from his teammates, right? So it just is what it is. I had to give my guy Patrick Mahomes some love, even though that Mike Brown hates him. It is what it is. So I think I have one more game to talk about. And, actually a few more. So I'm going to rush through these. So you have the 49ers, who came out with a 28-0 lead versus a Tom Brady-led Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Tom Brady, 253 yards passing, 1 score, 2 interceptions, right? Rachaad White's supposed to be the next guy. He takes over Leonard Fournette and this and that. You got Chris Godwin. You have Mike Evans. You have Julio. You have all these weapons. But for some reason, Tom Brady cannot score touchdowns this season. Yes, you were playing against a team like the San Francisco 49ers. But what I want to talk about is the man of the hour, Brock Purdy, who came out with 185 yards passing this game and two passing touchdowns. He also had a rushing touchdown. This guy led this team to a 28-0 score at halftime. The game was over before it even started. Okay? Brock Purdy, the last pick of the NFL draft, Mr. Irrelevant. He's very relevant, and he's leading his team. Yes, Shanahan runs a quarterback-friendly offense. But at the end of the day, it's Brock Purdy. He's making it happen. And it's just not like, small throws. These are big-time throws. Christian McCaffrey stepped up big, 14 carries for 119 yards in the score. Jordan Mason, he's a good handcuff in fantasy. If you have Christian McCaffrey, make sure you go ahead and grab Jordan Mason. Had 11 carries, 56 yards. Deebo Samuel stepped in, came into the game, 4 carries, 21 yards, got hurt, left the game. But they still had enough out of guys like Brandon Ayuk, who had 2 receptions for 7 yards and a score. So this is a nice team. Their offense is definitely not going to be humming like this every single game. But Brock Purdy, he knows the system. He's playing well within the system. As long as this 49ers defense continues to play well, even till today, I still feel that the 49ers have the best team in the NFC. They have the best team in the NFC. Dallas is pretty good. We know that the Eagles are pretty good. But at the end of the day, I still think that the 49ers are one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the best team. If Brock Purdy continues to play this way to where he's leading these guys to actual scores, right, and not necessarily messing up the game or turn over the ball, 49ers might win the Super Bowl. But then if that happens, they'll say, well, Jimmy G is a system guy and this and that. It just is what it is. Mike Brown says, I'm glad the Titans got Julio garbage out of here. So, yeah. Julio just hasn't been good this year. So, I think he's about to be done. It says Jordan Mason won't do nothing for the rest of the season. You might be right. Jordan Mason might not do anything. But at the end of the day, if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt, you never know. It says the Commanders are pretty good. So Let's go ahead and crank out these last two games. You got this is a crazy one right here. So all Seattle had to do was win on Sunday, and then they maintain their hopes in the playoffs. You have the Carolina Panthers being led by Sam Darnold. They've gone through Baker Mayfield, P.J. Walker, and whoever else they've had at quarterback. Sam Darnold comes in, doesn't do anything special. What he did do was he didn't turn over the ball. He didn't throw an interception. There were times when he had to throw the ball away, and that's the growth that the coach is looking for out of Sam Darnold. They had a good two-headed monster rushing the ball with Chuba Hubbard, who had 14 carries, and Deontay Foreman, who had 21 carries. Both guys had 74 yards apiece. They ran for 223 yards as a team. That's the formula to beat some of these better teams. Run the ball, control the clock, and score touchdowns. They had 2 rushing touchdowns as well. With this roster, somehow, some way, Carolina scores 30 points. I can't believe it. Can't believe it. I don't know how they did it. When you just look at the totality of the game, it was pretty bad. It was the interceptions by Geno Smith. Geno Smith is a guy that's played well all year. He's taking care of the ball. But Seattle still wants to extend Geno Smith. Even with Geno Smith having this bad game, he was an MVP candidate. He's been solid. He's 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 3,400 yards. He'll be well over 4,000 yards. And he was a guy that everybody counted him out. He has outplayed Russell Wilson. Matter of fact, he's Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson is Geno Smith. That's the only thing that I can think about right now on why both guys are having some success. Mike Brown says Geno Smith is the truth. I agree. He has played well. He's played well this season, and he's going to continue to play well. So he deserves that bag. Hopefully, when he gets his bag, he'll continue to have this level of play. He's a guy that's been in the league for a long time, and he's finally got his chance. That's why you can't really count out any of these veteran quarterbacks. You never know. Change of scenery, system. Sometimes it takes these guys 10 years to develop. That's what I'm saying, that Malik Willis isn't ready. I think it's going to take Malik Willis like 3 years to really develop into a quarterback. And sometimes it's not a bad thing. Sometimes these guys stick around. There's opportunities that, presents itself. So without Kenneth Walker, we can see what a Geno Smith team looks like. Okay, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Kenneth Walker was the guy that made this thing work. Without Kenneth Walker, they struggle with Travis Homer and Tony Jones and the rest of these guys. Marquise Goodwin continues to have an impact. I don't know where this guy comes from. He'll show up like a Deshaun Jackson type guy. He'll get a touchdown there, here and there. 5 receptions, 95 yards. DK Metcalf played well. 71 yards in the score. But shout out to Tyler Lockett, man. I think he has consecutive games of touchdowns. Let me go ahead and see. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 straight games with a touchdown, Tyler Lockett. This guy right here, he's good. He's pretty good. I keep telling people he's a touchdown machine, whether it's Russell, whether it's Tyler, it doesn't matter. Geno, Russell, this guy gets touchdowns. When you look at what he's done the last few years, look at his touchdown numbers. The last few years, 10 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 10 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns, 8 touchdowns. So from 2018 to 2022, Tyler Lockett has gotten at least 8 touchdowns every single year. When you have talent, you have talent. Sometimes the quarterback can elevate your talent, but I'm so happy to see Tyler Lockett playing well, and even see DK Metcalf playing well. We all thought that, hey, these 2 guys might struggle, but these 2 guys are going to reach 1,000 yards this season. These 2 guys are going to have at least 7 touchdowns each. So it's good to see both guys playing well. But I'm glad that Seattle loses so that my team can continue to move up in the ranks. Mike Brown says Tyler Lockett should retire. You're crazy. He says, how long do you think it's going to take Taylor Heinicke? It's going to take Taylor Heinicke a while to be a starting quarterback. He's not a starting quarterback. Taylor Heinicke is the best backup quarterback in the NFL. Name a backup quarterback that's better than Taylor Heinicke. I'll wait. Still waiting. But, Taylor Heinicke being a starter, I don't see him being a starter anytime soon in the NFL. He might even end up leaving next year. So, moving along, I think I got one more game, and then I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Got some things to do. So, you have Miami Dolphins, and then you have the LA Chargers. this was the Sunday night game, and didn't really watch it, but it was boring. I'm not gonna lie, it was boring for the most part. The parts that I did see, but shout out to Justin Herbert, 367 yards passing, 1 touchdown. The beauty of Justin Herbert is that he finally had his full complements of weapon. You had Mike Williams coming back, 6 receptions for 116 yards. You had Keenan Allen, 12 receptions, 92 yards. You had Austin Ekeler, who is at 93 receptions so far this season. And he's going to top 100 catches. When the season started, I told everybody, I said, Austin Ekeler will be the RB1 in fantasy. He still may or may not be that. But what I did also stress was that Austin Ekeler will have 100 receptions this year. You know, I said it last year, and he ended up getting, I believe it was like 70. This year, he's been healthy. Knocking on wood, I pray he continues to stay healthy. But off of 112 targets this year, he has 93 receptions as a running back. He needs 7 more receptions to get that 100 receptions. He will do that. He has 5 receiving touchdowns. He's been solid in the run game. Austin Ekeler is just one of those guys. He's one of those guys. Like this year, he's not having his greatest rushing attack, so to speak. But Justin Herbert does like to look for his weapons. He loves his tight ends. He loves his running back. So shout out to Austin Ekeler. Shout out to the Chargers. The Chargers could be a sneaky team if they're able to make the playoffs. That bunch of weapons, guys like Josh Palmer, who stepped in when Keenan Allen and Mike Williams were gone. He's a guy that's more so of a compliment guy than a top 2 wide receiver. So having Josh Palmer as your 3rd, 4th, 5th option makes this team even better. Joshua Kelly is stepping up. But let's go ahead and transition and look at the Miami Dolphins. They came in with a good record yesterday. They still have a good record even after losing this game. Tua Tagovailoa was terrible in the first half. I believe he had 25 passing yards. Like he was 3 for 15, 25 yards. Completed 20% of his passes. That was terrible. Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson getting hurt. That running game looks terrible right now. They're gonna need somebody to step up in that rushing attack. Tyreek Hill was Tyreek Hill, recovering that fumble and taking it 50+ yards. Jalen Waddle was nowhere to be found. The offense looked bad. Defensively, they looked bad. They were beat down, and this was a team that was actually pushing Buffalo for that division championship. Now it's looking like they might not get that. So it was an exciting game. Not gonna lie, I enjoyed the game within the game. I didn't enjoy the game, but I enjoyed the game within the game. So I think I've covered all the games. Tonight, obviously, you have 2 teams hungry, 2 teams that need a win. You got the Patriots, you have the Cardinals. Let's see what happens. Guys, if you guys are interested in joining a membership, I think it's here or it's there. It's somewhere. It's somewhere on the screen. Feel free to join the membership. I do fantasy football, NFL, NBA. I'll definitely be coming back, possibly maybe tomorrow. But I definitely enjoyed the stream. Appreciate all of you guys who support me. Please like, please subscribe, please share. And I'll catch you guys on that next stream. I'm out. Peace.